we need to be real at the moment. I just put the recorder on because you and I have been laughing. I had a cup of coffee. We were just laughing how many cup of coffees we have in our office with us, and how many times you and I be talking. And I realized I know it. How many times people call us and they put us in this bubble like you were telling me just a minute ago, like this strange thing that they're going to call and has access to the universe, and they're just going to touch this ball called Nancy or psychic realm or something. They don't realize that I've searched over my house 3 times for that one cup of coffee. Go heat it, come up here, and I got a cold cup sitting right here. I tell you, there's days and I think to myself, I'm my own worst enemy. And yet when I sit down to do this, it's kind of like I was telling somebody who was afraid to get on the stage once. I says, what is it different about you when you get ready for a presentation versus the person you get there? Oh, my mind is hurting. I have to learn all this. I have to worry about my clothes. I said, you're missing something. When I get on stage, there's always something that puts me in that place that makes me the presenter. Got it? So when I'm in my office, putting my headset on changes me, puts me in that, I'm in that. In reality, what it is, it's a hot cup of coffee.
The coffee.
I'm sitting here with my cup of coffee.
Absolutely.
I says, I am ready. And it's almost like I go into an altered state. But getting ready for a session, people think that I sit and meditate all the time. I don't. I'm just no here. When I put my headset on and I just close my eyes just for a minute, and people say, do you say prayer? I said, I'm kind of God-centered. When I sit here, I'm ready. I kind of just relax for a minute, and it kind of gets me with my cup of coffee. And the queen fee cups, I must have 20 cups. We were just laughing, and I said, we need to turn this recorder on. People are not going to think how silly we are. This, too, is people think that we live, that when they call us, we also have a life. And people, a couple days ago, I had a lady email me back after a session, and she says, think of us between readings, and do you think of us and pick up stuff that you need to get back to us? And I wrote her back, and I says, this takes a lot of energy, and I really have to tell you that I turn the energy off. People don't realize how many people call me or email me all the time wanting 5 minutes of my time as though I could automatically turn it on. And so we have to get into that process of just relaxing to access you, the public. And so when I tell people, if I ever picked up something, of course, but how many people have you picked? How many people a day do you talk to, John? How many people of those would say, I would love for you to think of me at dinner tonight? And if you think of me while you're eating your meal, call me back and tell me what you pick up. People don't realize I can't give thought to everybody I've talked to.
Yes, absolutely.
Over 22 years of everyday readings, I wonder how many people think, I wonder if she's thought of me, and if I call her, she might just give me 5 minutes of what she thought of. It's like I have too much access to their personal life. Does that happen to you?
Yeah, you'd never have. It's just inhumanely impossible to do, because there would for a start off, there would never be enough hours in the day for you to do that, because it would just be, and besides the fact that you wouldn't have enough energy to do that either, because it would be completely, you have to conserve your energy. Again, it's like, what I always say. You have to look after yourself so you can look after others. And if you can't look after yourself and you can't put yourself first, within reason, there's no way that you can do it for other people. I'd love to sit here, and I'd love, my heart, like yourself, Nancy, goes out to everybody, all the time. But you do have to have that shut-off point. You have to have that shut-off point, because otherwise, you'd have nothing left for yourself. You'd never get out of bed in the morning, would you? Do you know what I mean? You'd just never get out of bed in the morning, and and that's what it is, really. But all the time, I have an absent healing book, you see. So I put people in there, and I do that. And I've got you in here as well, Nancy. I put you in here the other day. Where are we? Now, here we are. I don't know if you can read that.
Yeah.
Nancy Matthew,
my sinus headaches.
So.
Thank you.
absolutely. You know, I mean, like yourself, your phone's going, and you got people asking you. You know, and I do understand people's needs. I really do. I can appreciate people's needs, but unfortunately, I have to say that I do have to shut off. I have to be in control, and I have to have that shut off point, because, like you say, you'd be on your knees all the time, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You wouldn't, you know, you'd be on your knees all the time. You'd be on
When
your knees all the time.
when people call me, even for appointment, they set it up. A lot of people go to my website and fill out the forms. So if someone's listening to me and wondering who in the dickens am I, I'm nancymatz.net. And John, your website is?
www.orbsuk.co.uk.
Stick websites, and we would just do this. And then so we're setting up, this is kind of like the third one that we're talking. It was very spontaneous. We were just going to connect. We had a little trouble with Skype, and so we've been futzing with it. And we were start talking about clients. Yesterday I had a client in Hawaii who was so despondent. She and her husband lost their only child, and they both want to die. And we were kind of thinking how we are not taking care of ourselves, and it kind of rolled over to our doing this. And when the client called, because sometimes I'm a pedestal psychic over the world that do this, but I'm so no different. I have empathy for you. I have sincere stress with you. You call me, and you're under so much stress, you're almost ready to start screaming. You're either in pain from a loss or death in the family, or you're anxious because you don't have a job. Well, you've got to remember, everybody, and I know John can tell you this, is when you call me with that level of stress, what it does is it hits me first, and I have to wade through it to be perfect for you. And we were laughing about the coffee cup and getting ready and sitting down. And then when you call, John may do the same thing on his site or his personal readings, is calm you down, because it's really important. We're just folk just like you are, and you don't give us a chance. We want us to be perfect. You want to pay us to be perfect. We can't be unless you relax. And we're always laughing and trying to be relaxed ourselves.
Absolutely. Because I think as well, I think that is a key point as well, that we're not always serious. We're not always in that frame of mind of, you know, we're not always in that frame of mind of, I don't know whether awareness is the right way to put it, but the times that I've lost my keys in the house, or I'm looking for my wallet, or I'm looking, you know, like you said earlier on, I've got one cup here, and then I forgot where I've put it, so I have another cup, and then come up, and then I have two cups, and I'm like, well, which shall I drink first? That is so funny.
I do that so often. And I have a big house. It's 2-story, and the kitchen's downstairs, my office is up here, and I'm always going like this, and Larry will say, my husband, what are you doing? How many times do you have to go up and down those stairs? I go, I can't remember where I put my tie. And it's really interesting because I always have a lot on my mind. I'm writing. Yeah. I'm doing too many things. I got blogs, I got books, I got the, you know, unfortunately, I got the radio shows I'm too often, but I always got something going, and I'm thinking of that, and I'll lose my keys, I'll lose where my purse is, and I'll lose my coffee cups, and I have coffee cups. I'm like in that movie, remember the movie called Signs with Mel Gibson, and his little daughter was always putting cups there?
Yeah.
I'll fill half the dishwasher up with, because I've lost them until they've been sitting for a while.
That's right. It's exactly the same. And
love this.
Phone's another one. Where have I put my phone? You know, is it here or is it over there? Or, you know, and yet, like you say, Nancy, it's peculiar because when you do get a client and they come to you, you do get that other sense of, I don't know whether it's reality that over you, or you get that other sense of, you go into that different state, don't you? Mm-hmm. You know, it's sort of almost, we stop being this full goldfish. Yeah, definitely. And it's like you go into this other sort of persona where you take on. Do you know what I mean? Sort of thing. It's really strange.
Let me add to, because I know what I was trying to share with you earlier before we turned the recorder on. When people call me, I'm trying to be friendly, because my goal is to get you to know that I'm just a person. I'm really easy to talk to now. It's like I've always been easy to talk to, but I'm very sincere like you are. But when you get into that state of doing a read, it's like stepping down a couple of steps from a staircase. You kind of get into a different mode. Yes, and I know I'm going to point to the camera and you too. What I find is interesting, I'd be klutzy or frustrated or anxious or tired, but when I go to do a reading, that altered state allows the human Nancy to recover from the issue, and I do the reading, and then I go back to my issue, and it's all gone.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Amazing. Kind of form of a
It is.
meditation, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, alas, it doesn't happen so much now because obviously I'm a little bit older than what I were. But when I actually first started, sort of doing readings many, many years ago, many, when I was a lot younger, people did used to comment on, well, it's like as if you're talking ahead of your years, if you know what I mean, Nancy. It was just as if you were talking like, I don't know if you have ever heard of the expression, like an old head on young shoulders, you
No,
know?
that's good.
You know what I mean? But people used to say it's just as if it's not really you that's talking. And, you know, because bear in mind, I mean, I'm going back when I was like 13, 14, 15, and I would be talking to people that would be 25 about their relationship issues and about, you know, and they would say, well, how do you know? How can you understand?
Yeah.
You
Answers
know
beyond
what I
yourself.
mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What I
Sometimes I
mean?
wonder, people, you know, how you talk with friends, and I sit and think of this forever. I have a analytical mind, believe it or not, and get into this doesn't make sense, but an engineering background allows me to think about things from a lot of different angles. So one day I started thinking it might be our higher self. People who are able to see auras and energy fields say that it appears that I'm channeling, or spirit people are coming close to me and they talk in my ear and it comes through this way. It's not transfiguration. I don't know if it's a blending or channeling. But I kind of wonder if our higher self is more mature than our physical age.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
And the higher
Absolutely.
self is
Yes,
our soul level.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Absolutely, absolutely. Um, Definitely, Nancy. I think, yeah, I mean, all that I can say is, well, yeah. I mean, I'd totally tell you where that is because for years and years, people have said to me, you know, it's as if you talk differently. Some people, I mean, I don't know. I don't know about this, but some people have even said that when I've done readings, my eyes go a different colour. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about that, but some people have said that it's like you just go into this altered state and like you say, where it is your higher self, you know. I mean, people, if I'm here before, I do know, Nancy, is that whatever I've done concerning the spiritual path or spiritual work, I've done what I've thought is right, and then when I've gone back and researched it, I've found that other people have done exactly the same. So my answer would be, well, how have I known that if I hadn't either been here before, or like you say, it's your spiritual self that is of a higher, an older form, if you know, an older being that's inside this earthly body, perhaps. You know?
Let me put a thought. Let me put a thought there, and I apologize. When when Edison invented the light bulb, there was actually 4 people at the same time, parts of the world, or the country that he was from, England, America too, that were inventing it at the same moment. So I have a sense that our higher consciousness is above us and connected to everybody else around us. And if you're a scientist, you're connected energetically to scientists. If you're a counselor, you're connected to other counselors or other people who are helping other people. Because if my higher consciousness wanted to know something about nuclear science, I wouldn't know who to connect with. I wouldn't know have the right questions. But if I'm in that field, then I will connect to you. I will connect to others for information. So I think there's a source that we connect to, and it's like a cloud, like clouds around the earth. And our band is purple, because I like purple.
Yeah.
And we connect to that for information that we give to a client. And that goes with my being in a bad space, not bad space, a confused state or a rush. So whatever people all get into, I'm not really in a bad mood ever. So it's kind of like I get wound up on projects and things and going stuff. So I get into that state where I'm connected to other counselors, obtain information. It puts me in a relaxed state because I'm getting counseling on an unconscious level.
Yes.
So when I
You know
counsel clients, I learn from what I give them.
Exactly. I look at that. I call it food. That's how I perceive that for the soul. I mean, and you know, you do get that that food for the soul, and it feeds you your inner part of you, that make that for, and then you can move forward, and then you can help others with that as well. But you do definitely receive food for soul. I mean, sometimes when, I don't know if you've ever sort of felt this as well, Nancy, when sometimes when you're going through a particular, I don't know about a bad time, but you know, when you get all rushed and you feel, you know, and life getting a lot, it's like a feeling of a disconnection, and it's an awful feeling because you feel at a loss, and you just feel completely alone in that. And again, I think that's where this food for the soul comes in, because when you get that food for the soul and you reconnect and you get that connection, immediately you get filled back up, you know. And
that's interesting. Like when life drains you, and then you get into psychic mode, that higher self fills you back up and relaxes you.
That's it, actually.
I want to say earlier, when I was in California, before we moved to Arizona, I had lots of opportunities for talks. And I worked for East West Bookstore for 9 years. And one day they complimented me, and they said to the group, once every month, and then sometimes they would double up, it'd be twice a month, I'd give a talk. And the average 35 people. And I would read them all within the 2 hours and give a little message. And it came to me that people were saying to me, we noticed something interesting. You're talking to the group, and I've always enjoyed that. When I zero in on somebody and look at them, my eyes would off shift. It's like Nancy became blind, and then those people became the focus, and then my higher self or whoever speaking through me would get the message, and then I would perk up, and then I'd go to the next person, and then that switch would happen. My little friend Paula out of California, she said, I always know when you're psychic because your vocabulary is better. And I went, well, is that good? My vocabulary is better.
Yeah.
I don't pronounce words as clearly. And when I'm psychic, I'm more articulate. I thought that was a fascinating comment. I went, well, I should go listen to some of my old tapes and see if I sound better than I do normally. That kind of puts me in a place of thinking, well, gosh, everyday Nancy is not as bright as the one who's psychic. I thought, well, I don't know if I like that.
I understand them say it, because I'll say that to some people myself. The people will, if people watch, they will notice a difference between sort of the ordinary me and the other side to me. It's only very subtle, but there is a slight change. You know, and I don't know. It's like you become, I don't know. It's just you just become tuned in. Now. It's really cool.
You kind of offset yourself.
Yeah.
When I've given talks to groups and I talk about out-of-body experiences, and a lot of these memories come back from the East West Bookstore off of Howe Avenue in Fulton. Was it Fulton? Watt Avenue, somewhere in that area, it doesn't matter. And I one day looked at the audience, and there was a young girl, and her flesh was sitting in the chair, but her soul, her spirit was going boom, 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 kind of like not in her body. Yeah. And sometimes when I do readings, I feel like I'm not totally in my body. It's like part of me is connected to the client, and part of me is connected to where it is I go for that information.
Yeah.
It's like, if I'm not careful, I feel like I'm not here, I'm just above here. It's like I'm out of here.
Do you find as well, you know, Nancy, when you do, I don't know if but when I've been on investigations and you do like your paranormal investigations and stuff like that, and you go into a building, sometimes it's just as if you see in the building out of sync with everything else. You know what I mean? It's almost as if the place that you are, it's like you're seeing a different part of the building that was there that isn't there. If you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
And it's almost as if it's just sort of a different sort of perhaps out of sync is the wrong way to put it, but it just feels, you know, I'm here, but at the same time I'm not here, I'm over here, and it's that slight shift and that slight sort of blip that you see that creates the other alternative reality, for want of a better word, if that's...
To see spirit?
Not necessarily spirit, but I'm talking, you know, like if you say if you went into a modern building, right? But then all of a sudden you can be in a modern building and then you get this just overwhelming impression that there's been a fire in this building, but there's no, you know what
Oh,
I mean?
sure.
It's just as if there's like a different reality that you've walked into. You know, I mean, obviously people won't know, but I know sometimes that when I've been, I am a bus driver, believe it or not, and obviously I drive buses up and down in the UK, and there's certain parts where I'll be driving a bus, and then all of a sudden it's just as if the road will completely disappear, and it just feels as if I'm just on a
Oh,
completely different road, and you'll get like a vision of how things used to be where you're driving. You know what I mean? And you'll get
okay.
and it's as if you're going through like for a. I mean, it seems as though you're in it forever. Yeah, yeah,
Time
yeah. It
machine.
seems as though you sort of, you know, it seems as though you're going through it for ages, but you're only going through it for about 5 or 10 seconds. You know what I mean? And
I can comment on this clearly in England. I'm a little jealous of this. Envy is a bad word, jealous is a bad word, but I stop and think, I go, oh, but look where you live. I mean, the history of the ages there, you have 12,000. I mean, all of history started on that part of the world. You know, America, where I'm sitting here in the middle of the gosh darn desert. There was cow patties here for eons where I have my house. There's nothing interesting right here. Yet when I lived in Sierra Vista, which was about 25 miles from the Mexican border, um, as a stone would be thrown, not the road. But I could drive a half hour to Tombstone, Arizona, and I had if everybody loved Tombstone, Arizona, that town too tough to die. In fact, I wrote an article on it. It was great. But anyway, talking about walking around town every day, I had an office there for a whole year. And that was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me because I would walk around and I purposely turned that little switch on and I would see different eras. So I started calling it, I would visually layer my psychic energy and I could see one era and then I would think about it and I'd open my eyes and I could see another era. And sometimes I'd walk around feeling that I was a human being of my era walking around in the 1800s and I could feel the air being different. And that's only happened there. But that's because that's an older part of the country where I could whisk myself into a slip, a zone. I slipped through time. And it was very disheartening at times because I found myself being dizzy at times. So I feel like that's what you're doing without realizing. I don't drive a vehicle on a certain way. I don't have a job where I think about that. And I can't do that in my house. But I do
oh
feel
yeah,
like that's possible. You and I,
yeah. Sorry, I mean,
go ahead. I want to talk about remote
you'd love it
viewing.
then if you could, if ever you get to the UK, Nancy, you'd probably be, you. I mean, because obviously because of the history as well. But yeah, by the way, guys, it's definitely not recommended. If there is a bus driver out there, don't do that while you're driving because it's not it. All right, so it's something that I've not looked in. I've not done an awful lot, but it's one of them things that when things just happen, you know, and you sometimes you have no control. You know, all of us just get
Right.
taken, and it's, you know, and it's just
Yeah.
strange. It's just really odd. But yeah, carry on.
I wanted to, I don't want to, I want you to put your input. Don't let me take it all. When you and I connected, I'd worked for George Lopez's Blog Talk radio show, um, Port Paranormal. But anyway, he had invited me to start doing remote viewing, which I do in a normal reading. And clearly in a remote reading and a psychic reading, I have found, and I know you'll agree with this, if I'm talking to somebody when it's nighttime, I can still see their landscape and their house
Yeah,
as though
yeah.
all the lights were on bright daytime. There's no nighttime in psychic land. So when you were,
No.
so anyway, I got really busy with remote viewing, and I was describing spirit people in different locations. And he would say, Nancy, there's a group from Ohio on, and they're going to do a ghost investigation. And Dom had a whole crew of people with him. And we walked in, and my eye, walking at the front door, I could tell you what the house looked like. And here I am sitting on the phone with my eyes closed so I get no distractions from the room. People say, Nancy, what are you doing? And I'm sitting with my cup of coffee and my eyes closed. And I'm just having a field day going, wow, I'm in someone's, this residence with these spirit people. And it was very fun. I will put this link on because it'd be important. Dom is a Paranormal Investigative Group of Ohio and whatever. But in that remote viewing issue, when they were talking about the house, I could see the house in era other than they were walking in now. I would go back 20, 30 years. Now, when they had other groups on and they were going to investigate a residence in Pennsylvania or New York, there was a group that had told me, okay, and I started describing the outside of the building before they even told me which one they wanted to do, which is kind of freaky to me. And I'd walk in, and one house I remember looking over to the side, and the house had a fire like 50 years earlier, and I could see all the burnt timbers. And they said, well, we don't know about this. So they called the owner over, and the owner came over to that part of the house. They said, oh, there had been a fire here like 50 years ago. And George Lopez and the owner go, oh, my God, Nancy, how can you do that? I said, I'm slipstreaming into a different era, but I don't know how I can do that. And it kind of freaks some people out. But, I've done it so many times now over the years. I'm not the only one that's done it because other people don't do it yet. But you have done it by driving your vehicle. You're driving into an area, and you slipstream into a different time. And, it can freak you out just a little bit. To me, it's very amusing.
I mean, I remember when it first happened. Oh, gosh. And it was just as if I was driving along, and, as you are, and all of a sudden, I was just in the middle of a field with all big, massive haystacks around me, and I could see tractors, old-fashioned tractors, horses and carts going past me, and I was driving along thinking, what the hell am I looking at here? You know what I mean? Because, you just think to yourself, how on earth have I got here? And what is this? What is happening here? But I think because not necessarily frightened, but definitely sort of freaked me out a little bit. But not frightened, in a good way. No.
Well, when I do the remote viewing, I'm sitting in my chair. You were in a vehicle that was on the road. I would
yes. I mean, you can imagine, can't you? It's like,
blank.
It's like, come back to reality quick. Come on, I know that because I'm not.
Does it worry you? I love this. I'm thinking I'm almost in that space with you, and I see this old-fashioned tractor to my left behind me as you drove past it. It was really not rusted, but really black and rusted. And I'm thinking to myself, if I had seen that, my next thought would say, I'm here. Are they here with me, behind me, that I'm driving this? And how soon can I get out of this and get on the main road before I hit a red light that I can't see while I'm here?
Yeah.
Is this that Twilight Zone moment?
Absolutely. Because then, when you sort of come back and you're like thinking, what did just happen there? What actually happened? How did that happen? And at the same, it's almost as if for however long I was in that there, it's like you have no comprehension of time. Time and space don't matter.
It's like I was in a car accident when I was really young, and all I can remember was that time was non-existent. Things were just moving one frame at a time, very, very slow. So absolutely, you made me think of something. Time slipping. I suspect that your mind was somewhere else, but you were in your vehicle, and the people in your cab, the bus, they saw you as the same. My concern is I wonder when you altered your state, your reservation, your energetic energy around you, it shifted into a period 100 years earlier, 50 years earlier.
Absolutely.
Okay, kind of wonder what would cause that spontaneous thing to happen and entered. Time to me is not necessarily a piece of film like in a movie. I see it as a deck of cards laid on top of each other. So sometimes if you not necessarily back up in time as much as you fall into a different time frame. Like if I'm real careful, I could fall into an age when I was 5 in March. See what I'm saying? Like in April, could I fall into a time when I was 13 in the year of my 13th year in the month of March? That I feel can happen. I wondered if you really give it a lot of thought when this happened to you, it was the same time of year. You're not necessarily going to go into a storm or snow situation.
Yeah.
So think of time as a deck of cards.
All as I can say to you, I'll explain the feeling. It was just as if it was just weird, because it's just, obviously, imagine, right, this is, set the scenario, the scene here. You're driving down this road and you've got a complete clear road ahead of you, and all you can see is a stretch of road, okay? Nothing in front of you, just a complete stretch of road. And then you're driving along, and all of a sudden, I hit a wall. It was just as if I hit a wall, and then everything outside of me just completely changed. Everything, like I said, I was in the middle of a field. I was looking at tractors. I could see haystacks everywhere. I'd got, I can tell you, I'd got horses and carts at the side of me. Old-fashioned buildings.
Yeah.
Just and.
How did you feel your body? Were you still driving? Did you have the inside of your bus with you?
Everything around me, I knew that I was sitting in my bus, right? I knew that, but anything outside of that was completely gone. Or I could feel that my body was still. You know what I mean? I could feel my body still there, but everything else around me had completely gone. I had no, because obviously you check your mirrors in a bus and you look down the back of the bus. I had no concept of who was sitting on the bus or anything like that. Everything just gone.
That's kind of like the movie with Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour and Somewhere in Time, when he laid on the bed and he got up and everything was different.
It was completely peculiar. And then as I'm sort of. Because I remember, Nancy. I mean, I must have looked and turned because I remember seeing it. I remember looking and thinking, "Wow, look at that horse and cart there!" And I remember the haystack. Yeah,
really.
So I must.
That's amazing.
I obviously were taking notice of the area that I was in, even though I was, but I'd no. And then, obviously, all of a sudden, it was just as if you hit the other side of the wall and you came out. And I was back on and I was,
So, wonder if your energy is perceptive to, if we look at a ribbon, every day is a piece of film. Take a piece of film with each frame. And each frame is a minute, an hour, a day. What if we held the ribbon up and then we let it dip just a minute? So you and I are talking and what our perception of time moving forward. Okay. All right. Now, someone in the future is living their life, and there's a dip in the film.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're dipping it down, and some reason they slip into our field.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense that a ribbon has a dent in it, and you pass through, and so you're perception level is greater than most people's. You and I could be flittering through ribbons of time, present and past, without actually acknowledging and knowing that's happening. But you were set to be able to do that. I wonder if anybody else in the bus went, click, I feel something different.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't be everywhere. It would be only when time had that dip. Like we'd be flowing and living our life and not knowing we're dipping down in time because it's a ribbon and not a straight cemented road. I wonder if that's what happened to you. That's wonderful. How long do you think you were gone? How long were you absent from the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it seemed as though I'd been gone. You know what, Nancy? When I think about it, it seemed as though I'd been gone for like 10 years or 20 years, but probably in reality, I'd probably only been gone 20 seconds. Maybe even less than that. Because time, it went that... How can I explain it to you?
So if you had 10 years over there, were you going to bed at night, getting up in the morning? I mean, how long did it feel, and what were you thinking of when you were experiencing 10 years? This is fascinating. I've never heard this before.
It was just as if I was seeing what had been there like 100 years, all in the space of 10 seconds. If you know what I mean, Nancy? Right. It was the information that I absorbed was I can't quantify it because it was so much. It was as if you
Wow.
had been there, and I do physically thinking to myself now. I remember thinking, God, this must be. I thought I must. This I'm seeing here is over like 100 years ago. So it was, but the information, because as I said, I remember the buildings, I remember the haystacks. I can even remember there was three horses in a field on the left, and there was a horse and cart. I mean, I can remember, the detail, and 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 when you remember the
Wow.
detail of something, to me, I must have looked and, but in reality, it was a split second. It was just, I got it. The amount of absorbing energy that you could
Wow.
get, or the why I experienced it was, I wish I could. I wish I could absorb things like that in reality. Because you know what I mean. Then I wouldn't
Well,
need
what
to
you're
have 2 cups of coffee on the go because I know where they are.
cups of coffee.
You know.
If my husband were in here, he'd be laughing because, and oh, you're just so funny. Two thoughts came to mind. I want to real quick. I have a expression when I yell out, and like I shared with you, I have a two-story house. It's taller, and anyway, it's a little bigger. And so losing things is easier now in this house. And I've lost a few things, but I used to do it in Tucson too. And I'd yell at him. I go, "Lost the glasses," and he stops everything. He gets up and he looks around. He says, "Do you remember where you saw them last?" And the trouble is I can't see well enough to see my glasses, you know. And then I'll say, "Lost the cup," and he'll go to the garage. He'll look in the microwave. He'll look in the refrigerator. I put a cup of coffee in the refrigerator, and all the time. Okay, and then the other thing I wanted. I, so this is my thought. One day, my son's an engineer, and he's in high level engineering design. He's kind of like some days says, "Oh, your son's a rocket scientist." I went, "Oh, yeah, I guess he is." So he's in kind of like new design, and not like a house construction. It's like a creative. And one day I was sharing with him how I have waking visions of things yet to happen. And so I'm just giving you some thoughts because I think if we can go down in time, which I've done, then these wake dreams means my time, I've had lots. So this is what I told him one day that I saw, I had perception, because I really don't know what I'm doing here. My perception was, I was a woman in a kitchen, and I'm light hair, and I feel like I'm slim. I hope I'm slim and tall. How about that? Not short and, I mean, everybody wants to be slimmer, but I felt like I was younger, kitchen, and I had a wall of glass, and my perception was it was future. And it would be wonderful if it were me, because that would prove survival and reincarnation. I don't know. But then I started getting other visions and different times. And one day I was talking to somebody, all of a sudden I saw myself look out of a porthole of a ship in space, and my son is looking out the window, and of course I don't have a tow-haired son, and I'm looking at I'm on a different planet. And I went, oh, what a good plot for a story. And then I realized that I had too many memories of that moment, that I remember the boy looking at this blob, and it was about the size of an elephant, but it looked like a mushroom upside down. It was really odd. A mushroom without the stem, sitting on the ground, moving around. And I remember thinking, ooh, what a strange creature. It was dark. It wasn't very forested. And this creature had a family. And so this planet had these kinds of life forms on it. And I remember thinking, well, I wonder why I'm getting that. But if time is not a flat line, and if time is a ribbon, or time is a cartwheel of like a wagon wheel, and I'm in the middle, I can access time anywhere. So what we need to do is, I told my son, if I can create a moment where I'm in time and I see something, can I design it and give it to my son to invent it now and not 50 or 100 years from now? Or is that when we do our predictions? Like I see grandchildren yet to be born in my family, and everybody says, 2012, we're all sinking in the ocean, we're having all this happen. Well, we've already had that happen. December 26, 2004, or 24th December. That was our when you talk about Armageddon issues, those people in Haiti also thought Armageddon happened. 250,000 drowned. Drowned. That we've already been through that. So I think from this point on, everything moves a lot slower. I see so many people surviving and moving and creating life that I know we're getting through this. We are getting through it. So I think to myself, okay, if we can do that, then let's relax and let's inventions forward and down. And let's create those things to move our civilization faster. So remote viewing, we've started remote viewing, accessing time, getting in time at night versus day, doesn't matter. Time can be accessed as though we're slipping in a ribbon, like your time that you float through, that ribbon had an arc in it, and your bus entered one side of the loop, experienced 10 seconds worth of a different era, and they came out on the other side. And only because you're very intuitive. I think our perception level is so high that when we enter one of these ribbons, I think that is creating us to experience life somewhere else.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, the only thing is, if someone on the other side at time is highly perceptive,
see me.
Do they see you?
Exactly.
Point. That's why that's what I think is happening when I have a perception of future.
Well,
someone else is there with that high perception, and I blended with them.
How scary for them to see all of a sudden a 72 or 100-seater bus sitting in the middle of a field.
I hope it was bright red, 2-story. Was it bright red, 2-story?
Bright orange, double-decker bus, sitting in the middle of a field. And
I think that's a hoot. Are you kidding?
That
is really funny.
Gosh. But
I wonder how we could create that to have more often in a wave. Or you get the name press to move time.
Definitely.
I think that sounds like a good movie. Anybody listening to this is today's date is April 14th, 2012. Call us up.
John and Nancy. Copyright before anybody takes a stab at it. But definitely.
That's a really good story. I like that. That's a good humor statement. But I think that's how time, I thought, looked to me like a wagon wheel. And I'm in the center of the wagon wheel, and I'm witnessing someone's life. And I can access it any time on that wheel. But I think it's also, I can move over from that person in that life to someone in their life to another wagon wheel, and I access it there also. So I have a vision of time being looped all around us all the time. But I kind of like the idea of a loop with a dent in it where you can access it any time, like you access the past. So have I, but I've also accessed the future. When people do predictions, I think that's what they're doing. Or they're traveling their own time. The only thing is I can't figure out how I travel time, but I've done predictions for people long past my own living. So I must be accessing their time in the future.
Yeah, well, you must be going on a lot. Perhaps you, another way, perhaps you hijack people's future. Perhaps you...
I had hijacked on their time. Put the roller skates on.
That's definitely. But yeah. So I think we've been chatting now for a good 40 minutes, Nancy. So, I think...
Say goodbye to the recording. Goodbye, everybody.
Talk to you later.